What's going on, everybody? How you doing? My name is Anthony KT, and welcome to Anthony KT Wrestling. Yes, I'm excited about this. This is the first episode, so let's dive right in. So, I want to talk about Monday Night Raw, and it suits perfectly because what's today? Today is Monday, and what happens on Monday? Monday Night Raw happens on Monday, and even to get even more into it about Monday Night Raw, I don't want to talk about what's happening tonight on Monday Night Raw. No. I want to talk about what's happening in about 9 weeks from now when Raw debuts January 6th on Netflix, live on Netflix. First time this is happening in pro wrestling history, I think. I believe so. Whew, it's incredible. I'm excited. I can tell you, I know, and I think we all know this, that Raw is, that the people in WWE, Hunter, everyone involved, they're gonna bring it down. They're gonna blow the roof off. I'm telling you, we got people like The Rock finally. I had to do it. I'm sorry. We got people like The Rock. We got Bloodline. We got Roman Reigns. We got Jey Uso. Yeet. We got Jimmy Uso. Everyone and John Cena. Come on. John Cena's going to be there. I mean, there's a lot of big things that are happening with this. I mean, there's a lot of things that are happening, for this first episode of Raw, this new era in WWE with Raw being on Netflix live. For one thing, for everyone from the East Coast to the West Coast, everyone will simultaneously be able to watch Monday Night Raw at the same time, as long as everybody, which I'm sure almost pretty much all of us have Netflix, but as long as all of us have Netflix, for the first time ever, we are all able to simultaneously watch Raw together live. And that is a beautiful thing. You know, for a lot of us who live in the East Coast and who live in the West Coast or different coasts, depending on where you live, we all can't watch. A lot of us are unable to watch Raw when it airs live for people in the East Coast at 8 p.m., which would be 5 p.m. here in the West Coast. So for a lot of us who don't have the means, are able to find other ways to watch Raw when it airs live, we have to wait for the 2 hour. We have to wait like an hour. We have to wait until 8 o'clock our time, which is 8 o'clock here in the West Coast, California, when it airs on USA Network. But there are some ways around it. I mean, if you have, for one thing, I will say this: if you don't have satellite and say like you have Xfinity, one way to do it is to go on USA Network to TV to go. They have on the Xfinity app, and now since they add AirPlay, there you go. Watch it. You can watch it live that way. That is how I watch Raw. For a while, when SmackDown was on Fox, it was easy because I could watch SmackDown on the Fox Sports app. That's how I was able to watch it live instead of waiting until 8 o'clock my time to watch it on Fox when it aired. But see, I'm digressing. I want to stay on Raw. So anyway, talking about Raw, all the things that are going to happen on Raw. What I want to talk about really about Raw is I want to talk about commercials and TV time. And I know it is kind of a curious question about how are they going to do commercials? Because how are they going to do commercials? And what is the time length of Raw going to be? Now, this is all just speculation. This is all what I feel might happen. And for me, it makes sense that it would happen this way. So as far as the length of Raw, right now, Raw is back to 2 hours, which is what it used to be back in the day. Back in the 90s. Back in the 90s when Raw was 2 hours. And at the time, the first hour of Raw was Raw is War. And then the second hour was Warzone. And then eventually they just dropped the name Warzone and it just became 2 hours of Raw. And then the occasional 3 hours, and then eventually 3 hours. What I think is going to happen is, and I'm based on how Netflix has already done some live thing, how some have done live stuff, and it's been more, and at times it's been more than 2 hours. I think the like, not Chris Rock's thing, but like oh god, the Tom Brady, the Tom Brady roast. I think that was more than like, I think that was like a little over 3 hours, I think. Or like something like on Amazon Prime when they do the NFL games, and those are definitely over 3 hours. Or like, even look at Disney Plus. Recently, Disney Plus just aired live the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which was good. Man, it was awesome. And it was really awesome. It was really good. I enjoyed it thoroughly. But 5 hours that was on Disney Plus. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was 5 hours. And when you look at a setup for how Amazon Prime does live every week with the NFL on Thursdays, and how they do commercials, the commercials they show are commercials that are companies that either sponsor the NFL. The NFL shows its own commercials, and sometimes even Amazon shows their own commercials when they're advertising their movies, their TV shows. And I feel like for Raw, I feel like they're gonna be able to. I feel like I'm really have a strong feeling about this, that Raw will go back to being 3 hours. And the beautiful thing is 3 hours plus an X amount of minutes. Like, the beauty thing about them being on Netflix is that they're allowed to have lag time. They're able, if they need to go over like 3 hours and 2 minutes, or 3 hour and 1 minute, or 3 hours and 4 or 5 minutes. Like, there are some times when back in the day when Raw was a 2 hour show on USA Network, there were times that Raw was able to go over the 2 hour limit. And sometimes you could always suspect, you would always be able to expect that when it came to like something that was going on with Stone Cold Steve Austin, or The Rock, or The Undertaker, or Triple H, or even something with DX, or even like the Ministry of Darkness, anything like that. And if they were the last segment in the show, and they started like, if that segment started, say, like between 10:50 and 10:55. Now again, I'm saying 10:50 because back in the day when Raw was a 2 hour show, Raw didn't start at 8 o'clock. Raw started at 9 o'clock and went to 11 or 11:05. So like, I know, right? That's pretty, yeah, that's how it was back then. That's how on USA Network, Raw started at 9 o'clock and went from 9 to like 11 or 11:05. So that's what I mean when I say like the last segment, when it was either at 10:50 or 10:55. Depending on who was that last segment or what that last match was, you could usually expect it to always go over a few extra minutes. And usually the limit, for the most part, usually the limit was 5 minutes. But there was the occasion when it would go over and it would hit like the 10 or 11 minute mark because of something really big that was happening, that was leading into a big, at the time it was called pay-per-view event. So like one of the big four. So like something that was going into a Royal Rumble, or a SummerSlam, or a WrestleMania, or a Survivor Series, an occasional King of the Ring even. Sometimes they would do that over, but that's the beauty of it being on Netflix. You don't have to worry about the lag if they go over lag. If they are able to go over lag, because it being live on Netflix, there's like nothing that's coming on after Raw. It's just once the live feed ends on Netflix, that's it. And that's the beauty of it. You know, we don't have to worry about anything like any kind of advertising. And we don't have to worry about like the network shutting them down because they went over. when Raw is done airing live on Netflix for that Monday, then the feed's cut and that's it, and we're good. Listen, at least that's how I think it is. I mean, they still have that. They still have Raw Talk, and it's not like when Raw is over, it's gonna go right to Raw Talk, because remember WWE still has another when we go into 2025, Raw still has another year with Peacock. So you would go, if you watch Raw Talk after Raw, you would go from Netflix to Peacock to watch Raw Talk. And then so yeah, I feel like January 6th we get back. When we get back on Raw is going to go back to 3 hours, maybe even have a little lag time occasionally, but 3 hours definitely. And as far as the ads that are going to be shown, I feel like when it comes to like what commercials they're going to show, they're definitely going to be showing commercials of companies that are sponsoring WWE, sponsoring Raw. Netflix is definitely going to take that opportunity with the ads that they're going to be showing throughout the course of a 3-hour Raw to advertise their movies and their TV shows. And WWE will also show their commercials, like when they show it, especially when they'll show their commercials, like what's going to happen the next night on NXT, set that preview up, or set up that preview for what's going to happen that Friday night on SmackDown on USA. And of course, like when they have like their big like sales and they're like 50% off, put in this code, put in John Cena 25 to get this amount off. I don't know, something like that. But as far as Monday Night Raw and how those two things go, the length of time and the commercials, that's how I feel it's gonna go. And as far as how big the show is gonna be, well, it's gonna be popping. January 6th. The beauty thing, it's that first Raw of 2025. I almost said 2026. It's that first Raw of 2025. It's gonna be awesome. It's the setup of a new era in WWE for Monday Night Raw. It's history we're gonna be watching. I mean, this is a new path. They're paving a new path with this. All this stuff. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. That was my 2 cents of how I feel about those two things. And I talked a little bit longer than I wanted to, but I love this. I have been a fan of this since I was a little kid who came across at his friend's house as his dad was watching WrestleMania 3 and watching Andre the Giant versus Hulk Hogan. But first thing I saw was Macho Man Randy Savage on top of the rope, dropping that elbow. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat for the Intercontinental Championship, and sat there and watched it, fell in love with it. Found Saturday night's main event, WWE Superstar, Prime Time, and then when all that stuff. But anyway, that's my 2 cents on Monday Night Raw as far as it being on Netflix, and as far as the length of the show, and as far as the ads that the definite commercials they'll be showing, and speculate on that. And I am Anthony KT. This has been Anthony KT Wrestling, the first episode. I'll see y'all again for the next one. Peace, y'all.